Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 90? Episode
87.
87. What the hell? Episode 87 of the Clutch Dump. I'm Nicholas Patty, joined by the venerable Ben Walther.
Greetings.
We have a lot to talk about without any Formula One, without any NASCAR, without
any sports car racing,
IndyCar, without any sports cars. Period. Just that's it.
Yeah.
However,
bunch of news.
Fear not. We have a plethora of motorsports news. We have the Netflix Golf Cup with Formula One drivers and pro PGA players that wrapped up. I'm watching it. I'm a little behind right now.
What is this?
You didn't hear about this? It's a golf cup in Vegas with Lando Norris, Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz, and Pierre Gasly, and each one of them is paired up with a pro PGA golfer.
Could Formula One get more boring?
Dude, it's actually been entertaining because, like, Alex Albon hopped in the golf cart, and when they took off, he was leaning out off of his go-kart trying to push Pierre off of his.
That's good. All right, that's pretty good.
We got that. We got a plethora of both open wheel, sports car, MotoGP news. We have a MotoGP winner that I think was a surprise for most people.
Super stoked. Very happy about that. Yes.
Yeah, it was great. Too bad they don't have merch for him at Coda when they come. I'm not passive aggressive or salty about that at all. But
I think they do now.
That is all.
Yes.
Down the road. Because first, make sure to follow us on social media at the Clutch Dump on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter at NicholasPatty21. Follow Ben on Twitter at Ben___Walther. That's 3.
I'm surprised that you remembered that. Yes.
You never show up when I try to tag you, so I have to type it in manually. Make sure to follow us on any podcasting platform that you're listening to us on, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or other. And then if you're here on YouTube, hello, you've already found us. But
hi,
if you're looking to make the switch, search us at The Clutch Dump Pod on YouTube, and you'll find us. Thank you for, I think, 66 subscribers.
I think that's what we're up to now, yeah.
We really do appreciate it. Feel free to leave a comment and or a review of what you would like to see that we don't already do. Carlos just hit a ball into the pond, and the fish, they're now eating it.
Perfect.
That being said, Ben.
Yes.
I think we got to start with the news because...
Well, we got to start with the news.
I think it's the most interesting part of this episode.
But, hold up. For starters, quick question. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking the batch 2 of Dr. Disrespect's Black Steel Bourbon.
Okay, there we go. Good to know for the people.
I'll make sure to mention in Nick's Distillery Corner.
Also, you said you had a story to tell.
Yeah, so I'll get to...
I'm very nervous, people.
I thought about calling you as it happened, and then I was like, no, I gotta get through it, and then I'll tell Ben.
This is terrifying.
We took a Ferrari-tuned SUV and overlanded it on accident.
What does that mean?
So my wife and I were trying to find a hiking trail, and Google Maps didn't say.
Oh, you heard the Stelvio.
Google Maps didn't say that the roads weren't paved, so we get to a point where it says county maintenance on roads ends, and it's gravel. And I was like,
"You're right.
We're in an SUV. It's gravel. Not the end of the world.
Whatever.
People
totally fine.
Said I got to the trail on my Corolla. I was like, we're chilling, right?
Perfect.
We drive on the gravel trail. Then it turns into like a dirt and gravel trail. And I was like,
right.
Again, we're in an SUV.
Fine. Whatever. We got ground clearance.
Fourth SUV, we're fine. We drive through that. Then it gets to like Jeep Trail where there's 2 tire tracks, some grass in the center, but it was no more intense than what it was. It was just narrower. And I was like, again, same deal.
Not a problem.
Then the trees start encroaching on the side of the trail.
Oof.
Then we get to a point, and there were several points where it would like down the side of the trail.
There's nothing you can do about that one, yeah.
And I was like, she hasn't said turn around. We're looking for this trail. I'm going to keep going. Then we get to, let's just say this. I'm driving and all of a sudden I can't see where the trail goes. And I'm like, I'm going to put it in park and I'm going to get out and go look.
We're going to go scout this one out first.
Yeah. Now this, theoretically, is where I should have said, honey, we're going to have to turn around and find it.
We should turn around.
But me trying to make sure that our day plans happen
Don't get ruined.
I was like, we can make it.
What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
Go wrong in our Alfa Romeo Stelvio with 20-inch tires or 20-inch wheels? And
I was about to ask if that thing's on 20s, and it is.
We made it past.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, banger. And then I realized it's easier going down than it is up. Because down, you can always release the brake to get down.
Sure.
Up, if you don't have traction, you don't have traction. However,
street tires, 20s, all the stuff.
Long story short, Ben, it took us 50 minutes to go 6 miles. That is the technical nature of what we're talking about.
Welcome to off-roading.
There were multiple points. You can ask my wife. Where going down, and I'm honestly proud as hell for this, because I had a Toyota FJ, never did anything like this. It's an Italian SUV built by Dodge with suspension tuned by Ferrari for me to go off-roading. The right rear
that checks
wheel,
out for you.
The right rear wheel going down off the ground.
You were 3-wheel on a Stelvio?
I had 3 wheels making contact with the ground.
Nice.
So there were multiple occasions like that. And then there were parts where I was like, even with SUV ground clearance, we're not making this. No problem. And Shelby and I were turning to each other. We're like, holy shit, this little Stelvio, this thing is like because again,
doing all right.
Points where we're like, this may or may not work, but everything we've done in the past worked, so we're going to try it. And it worked. And I was
nice.
And then I was sitting there, because you can ask her on the gravel trail, I was like doing 7 miles an hour. It's like if I hit a rock too hard, puncture. Like,
right.
I can't. And then when that didn't happen, and then we were climbing stuff, I'm like, all right, we're in it. So
fine. This thing's great.
We go all the way out to the end of the trail. End of the road. Trail doesn't exist.
Nice.
On Google Maps, it said there's a big parking lot with picnic tables and bathrooms. It was just the same. It was just the same trail.
It just ended.
And for people who are like, oh, okay, trail. This is Arizona Trust property. There is no maintenance. It is just whatever vehicles drive.
People have gone there before and have made a trail.
Yes.
That's it.
So we turn around. And my thought process was, we can either go, we could continue in the direction we were going and go north on the north side of the mountain on roads that Google won't map us. And I will have to, and we don't know how difficult it is, but we know it's not what we just came from. Because I was not confident we would make it back the way we came. Because again, back to the earlier, we had our right rear come up. I was not confident with the left front coming up, we could go back up it.
Right.
And it was that, or we go back the way we came, which is a known quantity, but
a sketchy known quantity.
Like, it's known, but it's not good.
Right.
We decided to go the known route. Not even 20 minutes in. Me, in my infinite Euro sports car wisdom, was like, it's pretty bumpy where the tires are, and I don't want to send a bunch of vibrations to the chassis. So I'm going to move one wheel track left. I, in my infinite race car driver reflexes, didn't notice quickly enough, hey, you're in sand, it's slowing down.
Yep.
It was beached. I beached an Alfa Romeo Stelvio in the middle of the Arizona desert.
Nice.
My wife simultaneously, God love her, had a panic attack.
Yep.
I, trying to maintain my cool as the husband, hopped out of the car, went and found a dead tree, broke it up over my knee, carried the tree back, dug out the sand from under the rear, put the tree sticks right up under all 4 tires, 4-wheel drive. The tires got up onto the wood, and then the wood broke because it was all termite infested and we sunk.
Yeah.
Long story short, we called Brendan, who then called his coworker, who then called his stepdad, and he brought out his $150,000 Jeep Gladiator built for overlanding with a winch. This all being said, 5.5 hours later, of Shelby and I sitting in the desert by ourselves, with a revolver with 5 shots in it, Cliff Bars, and a Camelback.
Perfect.
And a beached Mazzano Blue Stelvio. We got towed out, and then we made it back with no issues. We made it up everything that I didn't think we could make it up, but sand was the ultimate demise. So that is to say that I have made the executive decision. I feel like Jeremy Clarkson when I say this shit.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to buy my mother's Stelvio when she's done with it. That's the Veloce in gold.
Mm-hmm.
It will be higher mileage. It will be well loved. I'm going to build an Overland Stelvio because a stock one did so well.
I approve. That'll be cool.
Put knobbier tires and smaller wheels on it. I'll say this.
That'll be cool.
Brendan, his coworker, and his stepdad were all that it made it that far because when they were driving in to rescue us, they were like, "Oh, okay, they're going to be right up here." And then
the Veloce is the
Veloce is the 21-inch wheels.
It would be more expensive to turn the Veloce into an Overlander than your car.
Why? It's basically the Sport with a cosmetics package.
Because it's got bigger brakes on it, I bet, and you'll have to swap.
Downgrade brakes. I mean, Shelby's car has brakes too big for 16-inch wheels.
Yeah, but you can't go down to like 18s.
Well, I guess I could, but I was thinking like proper.
I mean, my Jeep had 18s on it.
Did it really?
Yeah, it was 18s. Yeah, when you put big tires on cars, they come with, like, Raptors come with 20s, I think.
Yeah, but I'm not planning on lifting the Stelvio that much more. I was just planning on having bigger sidewall. And obviously that will, if I have an overall bigger profile on the wheel, it'll lift it a little bit. But the goal would
I would try to go with, like, Overland people do, like, 18s.
Okay.
Like, 16s is, like, a hardcore, I'm putting bead locks and I'm taking a Jeep, like, you know, King of the Hammers type stuff. 18s for like, if you're building, like, a sandy wash, maybe go play in the dunes, go up a rough trail, overlanding vehicle, I would say 18s. 18s will be more than plenty. And then you can get, like, the tires that go on, like, a TRD 4Runner. And then it'll be minty.
I was discussing with the coworker aforementioned.
Mm-hmm.
It's possible to remove the front bumper on a Stelvio, weld or mount to the crash bar on the front a winch. A small. We're not talking big ones. We're not talking pulling.
No, it doesn't need to be big. That car weighs what, 4,000 pounds, 4,200 pounds?
A nice winch.
If
you put the front bumper back on, and all you have to do is cut out one or two of those little honeycombs in that diamond or that triangle shield shaped, and it could be completely hidden in stealth. And then you have a little hook sticking out of the front grill. I was thinking about a nice little roof rack, roof tent. Like, first of all, who would be out in the wilderness overlanding? You're in a Jeep. You're in an FJ. You're in a
right.
Oh no, I'm stuck. Who's going to rescue? And then a gold Stelvio.
A gold Alfa Romeo appears over the horizon to rescue you. Oh my gosh. I saw...
I'm like completely on board with it too, because then we'd have Shelby Stelvio, that's our nice going out to dinner Stelvio in Mazzano blue. And then we'd have the old Stelvio, that's for off-roading. And then we'd have a Camaro.
Perfect.
The perfect garage is 2 Stelvios.
The perfect 2-car garage is 3 cars, 2 Stelvios and a Camaro.
Exactly. Last thing on Stelvios, the owner of Radford Racing School came into work today. And you want to know what the person who shall remain nameless, you want to know what his personal vehicle is? He's legitimately a billionaire.
A billionaire? Yeah, with a B, yeah.
A white Stelvio Quadrifoglio.
God damn it.
And when he left today, floored it. And he had some exhaust on it. And
sounds rowdy.
When you work in an office where it's all Hellcats or naturally aspirated Honda 4-cylinders, when you hear a Stelvio opened up, it's like...
Nice little twin-turbo V6 to spice up the day.
Not one of our cars, huh?
Nice.
So,
nice.
That's my Alfa Romeo rant. I also may or may not have been looking at a few GTVs that I found that are project cars in the Arizona area.
Holy Jesus, Nick. I've not expressed this enough. Please pick anything else.
And then I was looking at some 80s graduate spiders.
So much more of a better idea than a GTV.
Yes, but not nearly as pretty.
Not nearly as pretty. Doesn't sound as good. I will be honest. I was looking at Alfa Romeo 155s earlier today.
Good.
Dude, there's a gray 155 in San Antonio, imported right-hand drive, gray 155, black interior,
Stop.
5-speed manual with the Busso 3-liter V6 in it. It's got a stainless exhaust on it. It's like $9,000.
So I found.
I'm like, I will sell the Camaro right now and go daily the world's worst Alpha.
Right. I found 25 minutes from here a mechanically refreshed, not rebuilt, but refreshed.
As they all are.
Cosmetically, it's in great condition.
Mm-hmm.
The levels to which I want to daily drive this are not fathomable.
Mm-hmm.
Maserati bi-turbo, like an 86.
Ooh. I mean,
the guy was
horrible decision, but so good.
7.
That's about as much as a bi-turbo was worth. That's about it.
I didn't realize that. So then I was sitting there and I was like,
that is like peak bi-turbo.
Italian design.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's the perfect daily if you also own a Camaro and 2 Stelvios. That's what it is. It's the perfect 4th car.
Camaro, boxy,
right.
manual.
Right.
Maserati, boxy, manual. Stelvio, Italian, small displacement. Maserati, Italian and small displacement.
So, like, a Maserati bi-turbo or an old Alfa Romeo is the perfect daily when it works, and assuming you have another car that always works, like a Camaro or a Stelvio.
Those cars are comparable to, let me see, a gas oven from the 1960s. It could work, but if it doesn't, it could result in a massive explosion.
When they work, so good. When they don't work, good chance everyone's gonna die.
Good chance everyone in the local area will combust.
Gosh, there will be a large explosion, and then everyone's unhappy.
And then screams.
Mr. Patty, may I have a brief automotive tangent before we really get into our motorsport episode?
It seems like we've lost Ben. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second part of episode 87.
True.
Hello. We had technical difficulties. And by technical difficulties, I mean I'm getting a new router tomorrow because apparently the router has broken. Listen, our router has broken itself. It is shut down twice every hour. So hopefully we can get through this second part.
Cross our fingers.
If not, it will have to be tomorrow. But that all being said, you heard my spiel at the beginning of the episode, so I'm going to save it for you. But we had just covered overlanding in a Stelvio, and Ben, outside of that, what else did we cover?
Nothing. That was actually it. That is all we got through. But before we get to any motorsport news, because this is actually a rather motorsport light episode, it's motorsport news heavy. Question for you, Nick Patty. What is the oldest vehicle you've ever driven? Is it the Turbo Cup / your dad's 911?
No. Damn, I didn't drive the Arnold. The oldest car I've driven was a 67 Lotus Cortina.
It's a pretty good shout, actually. Okay.
That's what I learned manual in.
Really? I didn't know that.
The first time I ever drove a manual car, for all of our Bernie listeners, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We drove to First Baptist Church up on the top of the hill.
Uh-huh.
My dad had me do some loops in the parking lot, first to second. All of 17 minutes, and I remember that specifically. You know why? My dad said, I got a meeting, drive us home. And I was like, I've been driving a manual car for 17 minutes. And I drove the 67 Lotus Cortina home. I stalled it once, but only once.
That's pretty good. That's good.
With a little force. It was that, dude. For our listeners, if you, and this is going to be like the obscure, I'll do that when I can. When you have the chance to drive a built twin cam Lotus, do it.
So good.
It is
was
an experience that
was your dad's Cortina a Mark 1 or a Mark 2 Cortina?
Mark 2, but it was the first half of the Mark 2 production.
Okay.
Which means it was built in the Lotus factory in Hethel and not in the Ford factory, because in the second half of 67 when they shifted production. So it was a Lotus built co-badged car. And ours was one of 33 sent to North America.
Mark
and it was
II
in
Cortina. Oh, look at that. And
ours had the optional 15-inch Dunlop wheels. Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Actually, if the listener was to go look at let's see, 1967 Mark II Cortina, ours is one that pops up typically in the search results. Bam, right here. Okay, so I am like 4 rows down, classicregister.com. There's a photo of it in our backyard in Texas. And then
No shot.
there's photos of it in front of the gas station in Sisterdale with the double side draft Webers. The license plate was KMG 44.
Really, that was your dad's car? Huh.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep,
That's pretty
what I learned.
neat.
Dude, so
That's a good looking car.
don't tell my dad this because he'll have an aneurysm.
Okay.
I was supposed to, theoretically, but my dad
Mhm.
was like, "Oh, I'll give you and your brother each a classic car," which obviously most kids don't get the opportunity. That's I'm not trying to sound like a spoiled brat.
Fair
But
enough.
once we get past the "trust me, I'm not a spoiled brat" part, I would have rather taken the Mark II Cortina over
If we
the
look
Turbo.
past that, I'll be honest. Me too.
So here's the thing. So
I know that
and the listeners know, I'm a Porsche file.
but
And it's a
Lotus.
factory Porsche, but something
Yes.
about the comfy seats and the
Mhm.
kind of springy suspension,
Mhm.
just man, dude.
Yeah. So the reason I bring this up is
Yeah,
I got to do something Monday that very few people get to do. So, if this is your first episode of the Clutch Dump, welcome.
welcome.
Something you should know is that I work at a classic car restoration shop. And which means I quite often, because I'm usually the person who test drives the cars, because well, everyone in my shop I'm the youngest person in my shop by 23 years,
You're the
I
only
think.
person in the shop that doesn't have an active AARP account.
Pretty sure that's true. And then I'm also just the only person there who still enjoys driving, I think. So whenever we have a car that needs to be test driven, I throw my hands up and I get thrown keys, and then I get to go put tons of miles on cars. So Monday, I got to drive a mostly bone stock 1968 Dodge Charger.
Yes.
Um,
Which is, how do you say, the polar opposite of my first car that I
the
drove.
polar opposite of Nick's old car experience. But I got to drive a 68 Dodge Charger, which is like a perfect factory restoration before it showed up to our shop. It was a perfect factory restoration, 440 big block, 4-speed manual, silver, black interior, 16-inch wheels, drum brakes all the way around. Now, what we did to it, we put disc brakes on the front, factory disc brakes, which if you bought an RT, you got disc brakes. Non-RTs didn't have them. So we put RT disc brakes on the front, but we took the 440 out and put in a new 392. Okay, but the rest of the car remains stock. We didn't touch the suspension. We didn't touch the brakes other than the disc brakes in the front. It still has the factory 4-speed manual behind it. So aside from the fact that it starts every time, it's basically a factory car. So I got to drive that car around, which is cool because I've only driven one or two old Dodge Chargers, and none of them were particularly, like, they weren't this nice. Like, this car, before we did the 392 swap in it,
It was like $100,000 restoration.
looked brand new. Like, it looked better than brand new. Such a nice car. So I got to drive that around on Monday. And then the other thing I drove around was a 1969 Dodge Charger with a Hellcat 8-speed automatic and Willwood 6-piston front brakes, Willwood 4-piston rear brakes, coilover suspension, tubular,
Yep.
control arms, all slammed on the ground. Big 19-inch front wheels, 20-inch rear wheels. It's on a 345 in the back. So, it's very rare that you get to drive a resto mod of a car and then also the factory version of that car back to back. Because it's like, oh, this feels good. It's, or this feels nice and this feels like this. But you don't get to feel the difference. What is actually the difference? So, for starters, that stock 68 Charger is a sweetheart of a car. Yes, it's kind of fast. Not actually fast. Like,
it's fast in a very charming, like, come on, yes, you can do it, come on. But it's not like holy,
Right, it's not knock your socks off fast, but it's got some get up and go to it. But it's got big comfy seats in it. It's floaty.
So comfortable.
You drive it with these fingers. That's it. thumb and index fingers on that big giant steering wheel on either side, and it's just floating down the road. And it's soft, and it's plush, and it's compliant. The brakes had good feel. The clutch was weighted really nice. You know, the seat is actually really communicative. You get tons of feedback through it. You know what the car is doing underneath you. The steering is a bit loose. It is a brand new steering box. It's not like razor, like Porsche precise or Ferrari precise, but it is communicative and it does talk to you. It's a little loose, but it is super nice. And then I hopped in the 69 Charger. And, you know, it no longer has a recirculating ball steering box in it. It's got a modern rack and pinion in it. And it sits 7 inches lower in the front, 6 inches lower in the rear than this 68 Charger did. And is making 717 horsepower. And then has an 8-speed automatic. And the other thing to note about this car, the seating position in this particular car is horrible. This 69 specifically, because it's got factory Hellcat seats in it, but they don't fit in the car, and the customer put them in. So when I sit in that car, my head hits the roof. Like, I'm sitting way up high, so that's a bit weird. Lovely. But so I'm driving this car around. Also, no one in the shop whatsoever was interested in this car at all.
Okay, why?
I don't know why. It makes, well, because it's fuel injected and kids these days and the Utes and hooligans and communism, whatever, you know, the usual stuff.
Damn communists.
So, you know, so I take
driving their carbureted Renaults and Fugos.
I don't know, man. No one wanted to drive it. Like, no one wanted to touch the car. So I hopped in the car. Also, it's got this tiny aftermarket steering wheel in it. So I go and I drive the car. For starters, the transmission is fantastic. It's really good. I don't like automatics in old cars. I do believe that all old cars should be manuals, but if you're going to have an automatic, pick a good one. The 8-speed automatic's a good automatic. It's really nice. It is kind of weird, though, because it does have the same shifter that was in your Charger, because you have to use that shifter in it, so it's kind of weird. But it's super nice. The car doesn't have paddles, which I'm kind of bummed about, because the company that makes the transmission controller for it, because you have to use a standalone controller because it's not in a new car, you have to use an aftermarket controller for it. They make a paddle shifter kit for it that can go behind any aftermarket steering wheel. I kind of wish it had paddles, but you can click the shifter over and shift it that way, which is pretty cool. I did do that a bit. But oh my gosh, the cars could not be more different.
Right. Well, this goes back to what I don't understand. No disrespect to your whole career as of yet.
Yes.
I don't understand why people will take the old cars that, for better or for worse, have indelible charm.
True.
And then say, I want it to handle like a recycled 20-year-old modern platform. At the end of the day, the current Challenger platform is nearly 2 decades old.
True.
And it's like, yes, I will take the 717 horsepower, and I'm going to go through an exorbitant amount of headache to get it to that. When, call me crazy, you could just buy a brand new Hellcat that, again, new Challengers look an awful lot like old Challengers, and it's done. Like,
which, by the way, quick sidebar, this customer, I did text him today, and so, because this car actually shipped out today, like, transporter showed up, and it left today, which, quick sidebar on the transporter, it showed up, and it's like one of those big car haulers, and on the side, it's exotics, classics, motorcycles, that sort of thing. And I pull up, and he pulls up, and I'm like, hey, you know, what else is in the truck? Because every time a transporter shows up, I'm more interested in everything else that's in it, because I'm just curious, I'm a nosy person. And he's like, oh, nothing interesting. I'm like, all right. And he pulls the freaking trailer down, and there's an R129 Mercedes SL, which for those of you that don't know is like the 90s wedgie Mercedes SL. And it's like a dark maroon red on silver monoblocks, and it's an SL 500. I'm like, oh, what's the story with the SL? And I'm like, oh, what's the story with the SL? He goes, oh, it has 13,000 miles on it. And I was like, I thought you said there wasn't anything interesting in this.
You...
And I, you know, and I go, and there's like a new BMW 3 Series in front of it. Not an M3, but like a 340iX drive or something. And then there's a Nissan Murano on the bottom. All right, whatever. I look in front of the Nissan Murano. I see a 911 headlight. And I'm like, hold up. What do you mean? What's going on here?
You go back to the guy, you're like, listen, no disrespect.
I don't think you know what you're talking
business.
I don't think you know what you're talking about. I go and I look, and it's a 991 dot. It was a C4S in gray. But I was like, dude, you said nothing interesting. You have a 911 and an SL 500 with 13,000 miles on it. And he goes, well, I assumed if it wasn't a muscle car, y'all wouldn't be interested. And I was like, I'm interested in anything that isn't a muscle car.
Right about the rest of your coworkers, but
true, this is true. But me personally, anyway, back to this Charger. So the customer, I sent him pictures of the transporter, leaving or whatever, and he sent me a picture of his garage. And by the way, this is a Destroyer Gray 69 Charger, and it's going to go home and sit next to his Destroyer Gray Hellcat. Like, he has a new Hellcat. That's his daily. Now he has a Destroyer Gray 69 Charger. So he knows this. Which, by the way, the best way I can describe... So here's the thing about aftermarket suspensions. They're nice. They're significantly better. The car handles magnitudes better than the factory 68. Okay? Now, if you were building a car to handle, if you want it to be more tight, be less floaty, actually, if you just want to cruise down the highway, this is better. Because
here's the thing, though, Ben. Will it be able to handle the jumps in San Francisco like the 68 Charger did in Bullet?
Probably not, because the oil pan is this far off the ground.
If you don't have that Baja Dakar travel in your Charger,
that's the 68 that I drove. So, but the 69, so it's got this tiny steering wheel in it, which, by the way, the company that did the alignment on this is fantastic.
Are you saying 69 is better?
Always. And, the car, you can just one finger on the steering wheel, and it will track dead straight. It's super easy. There's no play. It's tight as a drum.
68 is like a Ford F-350.
Yeah, you're freaking sawing at the wheel 24/7, and it's rolly, and it's all over the place. And the 69 had some roll to it, but it was very, the 68 will roll and not go anywhere, whereas the 69, if you cut the wheel left, it rolls, but it goes left. So the problem that I find with aftermarket suspension is it's significantly better than what came in the cars from the factory. It's a magnitude better, but it's nowhere near a new car. It's nowhere near. And here's the
how much if you're allowed to share, how much was the final bill on that Charger?
So we can't claim building this car. So we didn't do the suspension or anything.
But how much do you think the total cost of the car is?
If you exclude the initial purchase price of a 69 Charger, if we just go with the mechanicals, the suspension, everything, he's probably got $150 into that car.
Go buy a turbo 911.
Okay, so this is my problem with my job. So here's the thing. So Paul, my coworker who has the white 5th gen Camaro.
I would rather buy five 4th gen GT1 cars than...
Me too. That's the problem. So my coworkers, right?
What the hell?
You've met Paul. Okay?
I don't remember him, but yeah.
You have white 5th gen Camaro, Paul.
With the orange stripes.
Yes, so you've met him. Okay, that's the newest car that anyone there has ever driven.
God bless America.
And here's the thing. Paul has driven that car. I don't think Paul's taken that car over 90 miles an hour. He dailies it. He lives within earshot of the shop. He lives so close. And here's the other thing. I asked Steve, my boss, which Steve will never listen to this, so I'm not worried about it.
Steve, if you're listening, what's up? I'll take his job. I'm
kidding. Steve. He can't take my job. Steve has never driven a foreign car other than a friend's CRV or RAV4, normal Japanese cars, but they've never been in a Mercedes SL, a 911. They've never been in a well set up European, and they've never driven modern muscle cars before.
So, you know what I've realized, Ben?
And probably a lot that I've realized.
Somehow I'm going to turn this around and make it about me again. That's why nobody understands my 928 obsession.
I mean, I still don't. I still don't
Nobody
understand.
understands the big, comfy, grand touring European fine-tuned automobile
Oh,
because
no. I get that. I'm obsessed with it. I just don't get why you want that one.
because they cheat.
I mean, no. Don't get me wrong. You can have a 928, but
So-
if you buy a 928, you better buy like the nicest 928 because if you don't,
No.
it will cost you as much as a new 911.
So here's the thing. I showed the chief instructor at Radford Racing School, who I will leave nameless, but if you wanted to know, you could find out.
Sure.
I showed him that Maserati biturbo.
Oh dear.
He thought it was a fantastic idea, but he said that car is too old for you. And I was like, I don't know what the hell that means.
Well, that's because you're from several different decades, Mr. Patty.
At once. So okay. This episode is just going to be us talking. So
That's fine.
On the way home, I was listening to Eastbound.
By the way, that's what it's going to be titled. Ben and Nick talk about stuff. That's what it's going to be called.
So, Conversation Corner. I was driving home with seasonal Jack Daniels in my Camaro, listening to Eastbound and Down. However, yesterday,
not drinking. By the way, it was just in the car.
Yeah, yesterday, however, I was listening to the literal soundtrack from the beginning of the laps of the Le Mans race.
Right.
Still in a Camaro, but imagining that I was like in a 69 Camaro and I was somehow a European F1 driver who was in the States for a race. So I don't know how simultaneously I embody European vintage old money aesthetic and then shotgunning beers doing burnouts in a muscle car. And I'm not saying I embody them, but like between days, I could just decide I want to be Dukes of Hazzard, and then on other days be like, I am Steve McQueen. And I don't, there's a disconnect.
So everyone, I will try to explain.
I'm wearing my Dale Pit Vipers with my Hoyer Octavia. It just doesn't make sense.
Right. There's a lot of conflicting messages going on here. So everyone, I will try to explain Nick Patty, and then I will let y'all make your own opinions from there. So Nick Patty has the slang of a current 14-year-old in that he plays Fortnite and talks like a 14-year-old gamer.
Whoa.
Do you not?
I am in Platinum 3 in Ranked.
My point made.
I play 198.
Nick also has canceled on podcasts before because I just want to drink a glass of whiskey and bake an apple pie. Which, by the way, I have that text message screenshotted from you because I knew it would come up.
If you do, put it here, but I don't think you do.
Nick also will like rip down the highway in a Dodge Charger blaring Nickelback. I've also like it noted, I've also danced in a Dairy Queen parking lot to the Bee Gees playing in Nick's Dodge Charger.
And I've also overlanded a Stelvio.
This perfectly explains Nick Patty. None of it makes sense, but somehow that's one person.
Speaking of explaining, I have some explaining to do, Ben, because I'm registering for a race, actually.
Okay, and then we can talk about the race that I'm going to. Go ahead.
Are you familiar with NASA? Obviously, yes. Are you familiar with their Trek races? TREC.
TREC, no.
It's basically Lemons, but with fewer restrictions.
Perfect. Sounds like a great idea.
You show up with pro drivers or a car that was built for racing, you automatically get thrown into the fastest class. So it could be
perfect.
It could be a Spec Miata that ran in SCCA.
Uh-huh.
And because it was actually raced, you will be in a class with GT1 two-frame cars.
That's awesome.
So the classes are supposed to literally be, you could bring your daily, you don't need a fuel cell, don't need a cage, don't need harnesses.
Jesus.
You could bring your Honda Odyssey and run in the race.
Perfect.
And if you show up in an Aventador, they'll still put you in the two-frame GT1 class.
Still in that class. That's awesome.
So Radford Racing School happens to have a car that runs and has the entire interior stripped out and was an ex-fleet car. And it's a V8 Crown Vic.
Oh,
I've gotten permission from the shop manager. Myself and the chief instructor at Radford Racing School are attempting to register for the race at Podium Club in January in a automatic Crown Vic. And I could not be more excited.
That's perfect. That is By the way, everyone knows that Spec Miatas and Crown Vics are the best race cars ever conceived by man. It's true. It's a known fact because they are disposable and replaceable. That's fantastic. I'm very excited. I eagerly await much news about you and said instructor's racing career. His next racing career. He's had one in the past. I'm assuming this is okay. His next
it's not
racing...
BJ. It's not BJ.
Oh, okay. Different instructor.
This is BJ's boss.
Well, I eagerly await more racing news.
Yes, your racing news, however.
My racing news. You and I have talked about this.
Coda?
But it hasn't come up on an episode.
Coda.
No. By the way, Coda got canceled. Very sorry. Everyone canceled on me. Like, it was one thing where, like...
You can still go. You're a big boy.
I don't want to go by myself, though, because then it's... Dude, it's
you can't claim to be introverted. You're going to be by yourself on a motorcycle on a racetrack.
Nick, it's literally... If I went, it would be me on an R6 and then 100 Ducati Panigales. That's all it would be. Nick, that's like showing up to a race event and
in
you're...
a 944 against GT3s?
No, Nick, and you're in a stock C5 and everyone else is in Ferrari challenge cars. That's what this is.
You know what is way too unironic about what you just said is when on our way to Overland, we went past Apex. I am not shitting you, Ben.
It was C5s and Ferrari challenge cars.
A C7 Grand Sport was overtaking a 488 Evo challenge car at Apex. And I was like, what son of a gun in white New Balances just overtook a weird Frenchman? Like,
oh, that's awesome. He's got the New Balances laced up toit.
He's got the high top New Balances.
Do they make high top New Balances? I'm going to have to cut me a set of high top New Balances.
I'm going to go look, talk about what you're racing.
Okay, so Coda is canceled. I'm not racing my motorcycle at Coda. We're going to pick up track days again in February or March. But a couple weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago now, I bought 3 motorcycles. If we talked about you beaching a Stelvio, I get to talk about the fact that I'm going to Bonneville, okay?
If that was the case, I wouldn't have brought it up.
So, this was a trap, Nick, and you know it. So I bought 3 motorcycles and I'm going to build one of them to go race at the, what is it called? Bonneville Motorcycle Speed Trials, I think is the technical name, BMST.
They do have high top New Balances.
Really? I gotta Google this real quick.
I don't know how I feel about this. Also, while you're sidetracked, ladies and gentlemen, while Ben is about to resume his story about motorcycles...
Oh, yeah, those are kind of sick, though.
Just keep in mind, everything he's about to talk about could have been put towards going race car things with me and company at Lemons or NASA or Porsche Club. But no, lo and behold...
Here's the thing, though.
Ben is making a bastard child of motorcycles to go race on some salt.
Yes. Here's the thing, though. While, yes, the purpose of this motorcycle is to go very fast in a straight line, the purpose for me isn't actually the racing. The purpose for me is building the bike. I've always wanted to build a bike, but I've never had a good excuse. And
just wanted to build a race car too, but here we go.
And this is Nick. This will be cheaper than my daily. Maybe
You happen to choose a terrible daily. I'm sorry.
It's the best daily ever.
Ladies and gentlemen, drop a mother freaking comment of 4th gen with an obscene motor.
Beautiful motor. The only redeeming quality of that car is that motor.
Yeah,
anyway, by the way, I am absolutely buying a set of high top New Balances. These are
no,
sick.
You're not.
That's so cool. Anyway,
you're gonna be going to you're gonna speed wipe your Camaro at a car show, and somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, hey, you dropped your business card," and you'd be like, "Do you mind grabbing that? I can't crease the New Balances.
I can't crease the balances, bro."
They're gonna be like, Ben's gonna be like, "Oh, what? You like my New Balances of performance?" As he slaps his khaki cargo shorts.
They're called the New Balance 440, so they're Mopar related. So
I
technically,
saw him as the 550. I was thinking 550 Spider.
oh, hey, then you should buy a set. I saw 440 and 650.
650, my bad.
650, but the 440s are dope. I like the 440s. I'm about those. Anyway, I'm building a bike to go to Bonneville. So in the class I'm running in is classic blown fuel, which means it's an old motor. I'm sticking a turbo on it and I'm running it on race gas. Technically, I'm running in sidecar classic blown fuel because I'm also building a sidecar for it.
Can you please Cummins swap the bike?
No, because I'm running sub 100 cc's. So the bike has to be sub 0.1 liters.
No, screw that. Go to the big leagues, Ben.
The big leagues are really expensive and do 350 miles an hour, Nick.
Okay.
So the reason we're doing this, number one, I wanted to build a bike, and this is an excuse to buy tools. That's what this is. I get to build cool stuff, and I get to buy tools. That's the purpose of this for me. Also, the class I'm running in, there currently is no record. So if I just go, I have a Bonneville land speed record.
And that assumes no one else goes.
Nick, they've been doing this for 90 years and no one's done this. The odds of someone...
You know what? Challenge accepted. I'm going to get Brendan with my funds to build a Bonneville bike.
And this is why Nick will never own a race car. This is why. It's because he's going to spend...
I don't need to own a race car if I'm borrowing a Crown Vic.
Fair enough. Fair play. But so the bike is based...
We both show up in a clutch dump livery bike and we're like pointing at each other like the Spider-Man meme.
We show up on bikes with the same livery, but we're like competing against each other, and everyone's like, "Oh, dope team," and we're like, "Nah, hate that guy."
This guy, bane of my existence. Look at those New Balances. He copied me.
I'm buying a set of these New Balances. These are cool. I'm ordering one of these whenever we're done. Okay. So it's based off a Honda CL65, and then it's getting the motor from a Honda CL90. So for you non-motorcycle people, I'm taking a 914 and I'm putting a 911 motor in it.
Oh, you should just do that.
That sounds way more expensive than what I'm doing.
Sounds a lot more fun.
It does. It's true. Now, Nick, in all honesty, if I could build a race car, I could, but I don't have the space nor the funds. I can do this now.
On the contrary, DJ said he'd race a 928, so maybe I buy that 928 and you build the race car and then you run with us.
Nick, you don't have enough money for me to build you a race car.
I didn't say I'd pay for the repairs, I said I'd buy it. Okay.
Do you want me to work on it?
Yeah, but I didn't say where you'd be getting money for it from.
Oh, then I'm not working on it. I don't think you realize how my job works. I work on cars for money.
Well, yes.
No, that's it. That's what I do. I work on cars for money. That's my job. And make half-decent Instagram reels now, apparently, is what I do.
I don't even have Instagram, so I couldn't even go see it if I wanted to.
Oh, dude, you haven't... I did a whole... I'll send you a video in a bit. I did a whole video. I did a whole thing. I did a whole thing. We had a 1970 Charger show up to complete our little trio of old Chargers. We had a 1970 Charger show up, and I did a video on it. It's a perfectly fine car with a 440 and a 4-speed, so we're going to yank that out and put a Hellcat and a 6-speed in it. Because that's what we do.
Muscle Rod Shop. Destroying fine old specimens, huh?
It's really not nice. It's been restored like 3 times. It's ruined anyway, so what's the point? Also, it's a Dodge. Nobody cares.
Also, Porsche moment of the day. My wife's Snapchat streak is 997. And you better believe...
Are Snapchat streaks still a thing?
I'm married to her.
Yeah, but you talk to her via Snapchat?
Yeah, well, we're at work all day.
So this is that conversation.
These are the things that happen when you have someone in your life. I know, like, there's a lot of dynamics that you'll get to, but yeah, typically...
I hope I never get to them. I'll be honest. I just want to build Bonneville land speed bikes by myself.
No motorcycle.
Unless her
Which
only...
is too real for me. by the way.
Yeah, it's true.
I found so many good.
I understand. See, Nick, that's the problem.
I found a '90s Ducati that just needs its carbs cleaned.
Nick, if you bought a Ducati, I would fly to Arizona and help you fix it.
Why are you telling me this?
Because I just want to see how far you'll go and see if you'll get divorced for the sake of having a Ducati.
Although, on a real note,
Uh-huh.
Brendan asked me to move his Honda one morning out from behind my car rather than him having to get up and do it. Mm-hmm. And I chickened out because I was like, ain't no way I'm standing over a bike when I've never stood over one and then I'm moving it.
Mm-hmm. Fairings look good on his bike, by the way. How is his bike? Does it work?
He loves it. He got new tires.
Good step. Success.
Fairings. Yeah, it's no F word this time. Very obnoxious when he starts it up because, as most people do when they can't buy an exhaust for it.
Oh yeah, just unbolt the muffler, and it just has a doink pipe coming out the side.
So his 600cc bike every morning when it's cold, and he starts it in the garage. And I don't know. Let me ask you a question, Ben. When you start your bike, what is your procedure? So you turn it on, it fires up. What do you do?
So for starters, here's the thing: I will only start my bike outside. I pull my bike.
You're already doing one thing better.
I pull my bike out.
Okay. And then what?
I pull my bike out of the shed, put it on its kickstand.
Yep.
Cycle the key on, wait for the fuel pump to prime.
Yep.
Start.
Yep.
And then at that point, I let it idle and warm up while I go
rev it?
Absolutely not. It's cold. And then I go and put on my motorcycle gear. And by the time I come back, the cold coolant light has turned off, which means the bike is warmed up. And then I proceed to drive away at a reasonable speed.
God, I want a motorcycle so bad.
And the bike does not exceed like 6,000 RPM until I leave the neighborhood.
I want a motorcycle so bad.
So I took my bike on a ride on Tuesday because I realized I hadn't ridden it since like September, which is deep sadness. So I took it for a ride on Tuesday because I got out of my final class of the day got canceled. So I got home like 3 hours early. I got home and I realized no one is home. It's 72 degrees and there's not a cloud in the sky. I am getting on my bike and I'm going for a ride. All I did was, Nick, you would know this and Bernie people would know this, 474, 473 to Sisterdale.
Yeah, no,
and then just
in. I don't have any
turn back around. Here's the thing. I was planning on riding like a bit of an idiot and doing some street Rossing and like hanging it off of the bike or whatever.
Yeah.
And I get down Kreuzberg, which is the road that I live on, and take a right on 474. And I notice, right as I'm about to take a right, there is a gray C8 Corvette coming around the corner, about to go the same direction as me. And I was like, I'll wait. He's probably going quickly. And if he's not, I can pass him at some point because there's plenty of passing zones on that road. And it is a hypersonic gray C8 Z06.
Oh.
And it goes flying in front. Like he is zooming.
Hey, Ben.
Yes.
I found a 1993 Ducati Super Sport 900 for $3,700 with 20,000 miles on it.
So here's the thing. Number one,
I know it's too big of a bike. Blah, 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 blah.
Not that. Yes, that. But before that, here's the thing. Don't do what Brendan did and buy a carbureted motorcycle. Buy a fuel-injected motorcycle.
So what years are we looking at?
I mean, it really depends, but like Brendan's bike is an 04, right? What year is Brendan's bike?
I have no idea.
I think it's like a 2000 or 2004, and it's carbureted. My bike's an 06 and is fuel-injected.
Well, there's a group of shop workers at Radford. One has a brand new CBR 650 or something, and then the other guy has an R3.
Sick. Crashed one of those.
In the Yamaha livery, too.
Oh, sick. So he's got a 2021 R3.
Okay. Yeah.
I know that because that's what I was looking for when I got my R3. I got a normal blue one, like a normal Yamaha person, but they did have the Monster Energy liveried one. Kind of wanted one really bad.
It's really hot. Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, motorcycles are really cool. Mm-hmm.
Freaking cool. You should buy one. By the way, I highly recommend for someone in your predicament, and by predicament, I mean mewage, I recommend the Jacob Villamain method,
No.
which is just buy a motorcycle and see what happens.
No disrespect to Jacob. I respect my marriage a little bit more, and I'm not willing to throw it on the rocks potentially.
He is 3 motorcycles into this method, and it has worked 100% of the time.
So, Ben, let me throw this one at you.
Say
Why
100.
would I do that with a motorcycle when I could just do it with a Porsche?
Oh, because because all car people should be bike people. Because everything that you like about a car, a motorcycle does, but distilled down.
So, I was about to say, except they're not Porsches. However, I don't think it's very pretty. There is, at Radford, one of the Harley-Davidson Porsche bikes.
The V-Rod?
Yes.
I have ridden a V-Rod a short distance, and, like, it's a Porsche in the way that, like...
Well, obviously, yeah, nothing carries over.
No. Like, it's literally just, honestly, Harley-Davidson just didn't know how to build a motor, so they went to someone who did. That's it.
Here's a 68 912.
You should do that. You should do that.
Yeah, Ben, I'll let you know when I get $29,000. Although I would say between that or a Stelvio...
Also, can we talk about the fact that Porsches have dipped at the moment? They have dipped. Porsches have come...
Absolutely talk. We're recording this on a Thursday. Let's make
down.
it an episode. Screw it.
Abso-freaking-lutely. We're very sorry about motorsports. MotoGP was interesting, and Nea Bastianini won a race. Congrats.
Why are 912 so expensive now? Here's a 912, a 69 for $100,000.
You know why 912s are expensive, Nick? Because everyone figured out you could just buy a 912 and stick a 911 motor in it, and you get a 911.
But here's the thing. These 912s are more expensive than 70s 911s.
Yeah, because they're more rare than 911s.
Well,
because they made less of them.
Objectively worse.
Yeah, but, you know, rich people don't care about objectively worse or better. But there are 5 air-cooled 911s in the Bernie, San Antonio area that are below $45,000.
Yeah.
It is impressive. I don't think they're going to stick that way, but, like, I'm stoked about it.
You know,
there's hope for the future, Nick.
The older and older I've gotten, you know, in my venerable life so far, there is something about just a regular base 911 that is so
right.
Like my need, like, don't get me wrong, the Tuthill, sensational.
Big fan.
I don't need all that. I think. Okay, hold on, guys. On the laughing stock of the car scene today, I have found the stupidest thing I have ever seen. Oh my God, Ben, you're gonna love this. You ready?
Yes.
Rare one-of-one prototype by Erwin Komenda. Do you know who that is?
Not a clue.
A symmetrical unibody. The Formula One patents from all type of different metal elements, including the aluminum alloy composition and the magnesium atomic number 12.
Ooh.
Some number. Research Wikipedia for the original 911 series. The 911 T20 is a prototype based on the standard 911 unibody, but lengthened over a stock car. Blah, blah, blah. Bunch of... This stuff is all caps.
I love Marketplace and Craigslist posts that are in all caps. They're my favorite.
So apparently the guy in the article says that the patents for this car are worth trillions. And this guy is asking for this car. He hasn't said he's looking to buy it. He's asking $100 million for it.
Perfect. Give him all the money.
And it's in a garage.
Perfect.
Like a barn.
Nice. Yeah, that's where I keep my trillions of dollars. Is it a barn?
Yes. No, indeed. In fact, yeah, every time I close a new business deal for a couple trillion, I just toss it in a barn.
Right. Go, I need another shed to store this in. Okay,
Yeah.
Nick, question for you.
Answer for you.
Targa.
What about it?
Thoughts? Targa.
Massive yes.
Okay.
Here's the thing. My father, God
Mhm.
love him, has owned more Porsches than
Hi,
I will
Steve.
ever own in my life.
Probably true.
My father will not and has never, other than once, owned a Targa. My dad is
Because
staunchly against them because, well, after a while, the seals will leak.
yeah, it's an old car. After a while, all the seals leak.
So, for the 100+ days a year that you would enjoy an open top 911 while maintaining the 911 roofline, while cruising through the mountains and being able to just take the top off, we would forego that opportunity so that we don't have to replace some $60 seals.
Fair enough.
But I love them. Like, literally, if you ask me, Nick, what would be the first 911 you'd buy? I would want to buy a late 70s SC Targa. Number one.
There is a 68 Targa
Okay.
that's on Marketplace that was listed a day ago in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
It's red, not guards red. It's a lighter, more orange red. Tangerine, as it says.
Great color.
Great color. Black leather interior. As I said, Targa. Hard window Targa, not a soft window.
Right.
On some black and silver Fuchs wheels, $49,000.
That's a fantastic deal.
For a
Ben,
68 911.
before we go, because we are coming up on time, I am sending you something in Messenger that you need to look at.
I'm terrified.
And good Lord, did I not know that I needed this in my life.
Brother. What is going on here? Fitment, not great. Needs to be a bit lower.
Okay.
Big fan, though. Big fan.
This guy says in the description, custom one-off wide body kit that cannot be bought. And I just want to message him and then go, then how the hell did you get it? Was it free or did you buy it?
Well, it's probably a custom one-off kit.
No,
that you
I
can...
know you can't buy it just off the shelf, but if he can get it, anybody can get it. So, like,
it's not true.
Ben, if I wanted that exact wide body, I'm sure I could find some person in the continental U.S. that would make it.
Yeah. I'm very conflicted.
Why?
It's a cool idea. Number one, needs more wing, as all things do. Needs more wing. Needs more low, for sure. Fitment is lacking.
I didn't think the fitment was that bad, but what do I know?
Well, that's because, you're not a stancy boy like me. My
brother in Christ, you have 16s on a stock 90 Z28.
It's okay.
What's your tire width, Ben? 215?
45, excuse you. Also needs 4 full containment Sparco seats, Recaros, Momos, something like that. By the way, you like the ultimate. Is that a yellow 944?
Huh? Where? That guy has
it. See, I've always sketched out by these descriptions. 944 runs and drives, clean title, in hand, low miles. I don't know about that. Anyway, cool. Yeah, I think like just an extraordinarily big flex is having 4 like proper race bucket seats in a car. That that is peak Car Guy Daily. So that is a must at some point.
Ben,
Yes,
seen it all. I could die happy.
it's nice knowing you.
Facebook Marketplace, $525,000, a 73 Carrera RS. Here's the weird part, because normally that's enough for me to say I've seen it all. Who the hell sells that on Facebook?
True.
Upon further inspection, it's crazy because of what they're asking. Hondo, stop drinking. There is no water in the bowl. Wait.
Man's thirsty. Let him be.
It is an original touring model.
Okay.
That's been converted to lightweight.
Okay.
And also does not have the original engine or transaxle. And the MFer is asking over $500,000 for it.
Negative.
Those cars, numbers matching perfect, don't even get $525,000.
Like the most perfect 73 RS is $525,000.
Yeah,
like probably Jerry Seinfeld's.
Converted, not numbers matching, unoriginal transaxle or drivetrain car.
That is unfortunate. Also, there's a 458 Speciale that's been on Marketplace for like 2 months.
Huh. Let me guess why. Oh, it's Marketplace.
Like,
how many times do you think he's gotten a message saying, "Would you accept a trade for a Dodge Dart?"
No, but I'm going to text him that right now. But yeah, it's a 2014 458 Speciale. It's $535,000. And it's like, why don't... Have you heard of Bring a Trailer? Just put it on Bring a Trailer. You'll get all the money in the world for it. Yeah. So, I'm so jealous. I just can't wrap my head around the fact that you learned to drive stick in a Lotus Cortina.
Yeah, and then I didn't drive stick for a year, and then the next time I drove stick was in the 88 911, and then the next time I drove stick was in the Turbo Cup.
Right. And then now we daily a stick.
Yeah.
Approved. Do you think you'll ever own a Cortina? Okay, real quick. Hold up.
Yes.
Okay, yes. Okay, but another question. Because here's the thing. If you've ever listened to this podcast, you probably know that I have to own a 914 at some point.
Yes.
Personal goal. My grandpa had one. I have to own one at some point. There's actually one.
But we're going to ignore that.
There's one that's on Marketplace that was listed 2 days ago that's $12,000 that I'm super about. It's like one of the nicest 914s I've seen in a long time, and it seems way too cheap.
And you can get it for the price of your shitbox Camaro.
Don't tempt me.
I am tempting you. I am pushing my chest together, tempting you, Ben.
It's very disturbing. So, anyway, I have to own a 914 at some point. However, that's like the only like properly cool enthusiast car that's been in my, immediate family, so to speak, or like near family. Because he had a 914, but he also had a 65 Mustang Fastback, which is dope, and I'd like to own at some point. But like, if I'm going to own one, I'm going to build a GT350 replica, so that's a whole different thing. But I have to own a 914, also just because I think they're super cool. But Nick Patty, your family has owned a bunch of cool things. You get to pick one of your father's X vehicles. Which one are you picking? One. It's a catalog of like 30 cars, I know.
One that you're saying, one vehicle that I could realistically attain, or just of any of them that he's owned at the time that he owned them, like assuming that they haven't been boogered up or blah blah blah. Like what's
no. You open the door to a warehouse, and inside is every car your dad has owned in the condition it was when he had it.
Oh no.
Which one? You get to pick one. What is it?
No. Oh, I know. The 61 Oscar GT 1600 Zagato. And my dad.
I'm going to need you to repeat that.
1961. It was actually in a Hemmings article. 1961 Oscar 1600 GT Zagato.
Oh, this thing! I remember seeing this on on the wall in your parents' house.
Yep, that was
Yeah,
that's the first result from Hemmings. It was our car. The Bantamweight from Bologna is the name of the story.
that is.
So
Is that really y'all's car?
yeah, this was our exact car.
That's
They
awesome.
came out and did the story at our house. In the article, it says owner Steve Patty. Where was that? Hold up.
I'm scrolling.
I just saw
Oh yeah, look,
it.
Steve Patty, owner of our 1961
Yeah.
feature car. Huh. Cool. So
But go ahead.
there are certain badges that I think every car enthusiast wants to have at some point. Okay. Porsche's one.
Yep.
You know, I feel like that's one that a lot of car guys want to check off the list. I'd say Ferrari is another one.
Yep.
You know, I'm not talking Enzo's F40s, but like, I'd like to have like a 308 at some point. That'd be dope. Porsche's one. Ferrari's one. Alfa Romeo is one. Sorry, but your Stelvio doesn't count. Like a proper old Alfa. Or a 4C. I might throw a 4C in there as well. 4C
Sure.
counts. But like, you know, an old 1600 GTV or something like that.
Yep.
Like a proper old Alfa. I feel like Shelby could be another one if you're an American car person. Having a Shelby is a pretty special thing. And then I'd also say Zagato is another one. Just one of those things that every car person would see that and go, okay, that's pretty cool. That's something special.
So what's funny is before I thought of this one, you know what I am ashamed to say was at the top of my list?
I really wish that I could have a printout of what your brain went through 2 minutes ago, because I want to know, because you went through a film reel. I know what it was. You went through and you were like, okay, this car, and then you hit Oscar and you were like, yep, that one.
Started with the 92 Carrera RS, the yellow 964.
I figured it would.
Then it went to the 99 Mark 1 GT3 Club Sport.
Okay.
Then it went to, which was going to be my final answer until I thought of the Oscar, was Frank Stifler's GT3 Super Cup 996.
Yeah.
Like, I was just, when you said open the door to a warehouse, walk in, you drive out with one. I was like, yeah, I'd go in and pick the loudest one, start it up, straight cut gears, stall it, start it back up again.
Ruin my ears. Probably stall it again and then leave.
Drive it out. But yeah, I'm doing final checks. If it was in mint condition, I would have loved, and I got to look up because I don't remember exactly which one it was, but it was an Elva Courier. Was it a Mark IV? It was a Mark IV.
Yo, I haven't heard of Elva in forever.
Was it a 62?
What a shout. Your dad had some weird stuff, dude.
Yeah, he had a white one, and it was super cool. And I remember the weird thing is when you sit in it, the car is so narrow that the transmission tunnel pushes your feet to the outside of the car. Like, not just a little bit, but like quite literally, you were sitting in the seat angled away from the center of the car.
Okay, so that is exactly how it feels to drive a Shelby Cobra.
Yeah.
In a Shelby Cobra, I have a video somewhere on my phone. I have to dig and find it. But I stood behind a Shelby Cobra and took a picture in so steering wheel, right, connected to steering column, which goes straight down. The gas pedal in a Shelby Cobra is to the left of the steering column.
Yeah.
All of the pedals are to the left of the steering wheel. It's the weirdest driving experience.
So last thing, the only other one that I would potentially have to throw in there is the 1992 964 Speedster in speed yellow.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
See, but it's too hard because, like, would I want to go on a nice cruise or do I want
right? It's where is this warehouse? Is the warehouse at Spa or is the warehouse in front of a curvy road?
Is it a Coda car condo or
right? You know what is this? If it's at a racetrack, it's the Super Cup. You know?
Yeah, but I am really trying to think because I feel like there's got to have been something that I'm missing that he had for like a month that I don't remember.
Right. But you think you'll have a Lotus Cortina? actually, as an attainable car, get a Lotus Cortina?
Yeah, because you can find FIA
They're
brand
not
Mark
terribly
One
expensive.
Cortinas for about 60 when they
Mhm.
used to be well over 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is like if I'm gonna race, I realistically am not going to race maybe more than a car or two in my lifetime. Like I just won't have the money to do it.
Right.
And while I said of all the cars that my dad owned, I would pick the Zagato, the one car that's similar to your 914, I vowed my dad since I was 11 that I would buy back because it spent most of its life until, obviously we sold it. In our family would be the yellow 964 Club Sport. And my dad's like, well, I appreciate you wanting that, but like it's well out. It's not worth it anymore. But the thing is his car when he imported it, he declared it as a race car. So its entire life in the U.S., it will never be able to be a street car ever.
Right.
And so that hurts the value. And then he raced the schnoz out of it. I mean, he took care of it, but it was a race car.
Yep.
And so the street cars are going for 400. His car, I'm guessing, would be 250. But that's a shit ton of money. So it would be something that like that would be my Halo car. That if I could get it back in the family. Now, one thing I told Shelby a while back is like I would sell the Turbo Cup for it. But as in her feminine wisdom, as her motherly wisdom will one day say, she said, why don't you just make those memories with the Turbo Cup for our kids one day that you have with the yellow 964? I was like, that's a really good point. Like, let my kids have their own memories with a car that wasn't the one I grew up with. But when I'm in my old age, I would love to go get it and then just absolutely destroy some kids in their GT3s on the track.
By the way, just something to stick in the back of your brain. Most expensive Lotus Cortina ever sold on Bring a Trailer was $76,000.
Well, then they must have been selling elsewhere.
that is the most expensive one ever, and they've had about 50 on Bring a Trailer.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously that's not the most expensive Cortina ever.
No, it's not the most expensive one, but like the most expensive one was 76. The rest of them are like 40. So, obviously if you want to get like an FIA prepped one, it's going to be a smidge more, but they are not crazy.
What was? No, I don't want that. Hold on. I don't want. Okay, I'm trying to find.
By the way, I put that 914 in our notes.
Ooh, sensational. When was the... Oh, I love this article from Road and Track. The Lotus Cortina was the E30 M3 of the 1960s.
Which could not be a more true statement. That is exactly what it was.
I don't know why I can't find the answer to my question.
What is your question?
What the... Oh, okay. Hold on. Here's an article. Let me read through this. Chat, I'm sorry. Give me 1 minute. Oh my God, I sound like a Fortnite player.
That's true. Nick's going to be thinking about it all day now.
What did this car actually sell for? I want to know how much it sold for.
See, sometimes he plays Fortnite. Sometimes he's Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a fine line that he walks.
That wasn't even my Schwarzenegger accent.
That's disturbing, Nick, because I don't know what that was, because it was a half decent Schwarzenegger.
It's a topper.
That was a worse Schwarzenegger.
You know what, guys? Screw off. Okay, I'm not seeing a sale price. I'm seeing the estimate beforehand.
What are we looking at?
The Jim Clark Jackie X Graham Hill driven Mark I factory Lotus Cortina.
I mean, okay, but that's
estimated to go for between $250 and $300.
I was about to say that's a $200,000 car, but yeah, that sounds right. That's probably what it sold for.
And let me tell you, it is scrumptiously gorgeous.
Because it was green, right? It wasn't white with green. It was green.
No, it was white with green.
Okay.
I'm gonna paste it into our notes. But
please.
The wheels, the fitment, like Okay, it's right there.
It is right there. Look at that. That's all right. See, now
So
that's fitment. That
the
is
current,
fantastic.
as of 2018, the current record was 191,000 pounds for a Lotus Cortina. So that's over 200 grand.
Yeah.
Dude,
Well,
that
don't buy.
photo of him at Brands Hatch in it.
Yeah. Well, don't buy that one. Buy a normal people Lotus
No,
Cortina.
I want that one.
Oh, Nick, but you'd never drive it.
So, okay, real talk. Ben,
Yes.
what is fairly realistically the ultimate car that you would buy that was driven by someone that you admire, idolize, like a favorite race car driver, something?
Oh,
Because I already have
gosh.
the mine, but I'm curious about yours. While he's thinking, ladies and gentlemen, I'll go ahead. Mine is I'm going to look it up to make sure it's the exact model, but the Lotus Formula One car that Joe Sifford drove, it was the Lotus 20. It sold for like $80,000, and that was it. And he won a Formula One race against Jim Clark with this car. So anyway, that would be mine. Vintage Lotus Formula One car driven by a hero. So easy.
I'm trying to find the picture because it's really the picture that does it.
Knows.
Well, there's a car, and it's kind of a cheap cop out of a car, but it's because of a specific picture that I saw when I was younger, and I was like, "Yep, that's the coolest person on the planet." There's a picture somewhere, I can't find it right now, of Nigel Mansell he's standing like on the edge of the water, and his F40 is parked behind him, and his speedboat is parked in front of him, and I was like, that's it, right? That's peak life. It ends there. It's speedboat and F40, so that's a good one. I mean, gosh, I'm trying to think. I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. I mean, I could pick, what am I trying to think here? Like, I mean, honestly, I could just pick any cool Ferrari because I could just pick whatever Formula One driver of that era. They probably have one.
Right.
And I'm trying not to do that. I don't know. I never really idolized cars because of people, I suppose.
Ben, how about next 2-car garage? We have to pick 2 cars. And one has to be practical, one has to be a weekend car, but they have to be driven by they had to have been driven by race car drivers.
We can do that.
We can the driver, but we just got to find cars that they own and then choose those.
We can absolutely do that.
That's it for me, folks.
All right. And on that note, we will leave that one there.
It's time to end.
Back to the tent. That is going to do it for us here for episode 87. Not what we thought this episode was going to be, but quite happy with where it went. Because we just ended up talking about old cars and cars that we want, which is pretty much what this podcast is 90% of the time anyway. It's our podcast, so it's allowed to be. Like Nick said at the top of the show, make sure you go follow us on social media at The Clutch. Make sure you go follow Nick on Twitter. Make sure you go follow me on Instagram, I guess, because I don't use Twitter. Whatever podcast platform listening to this on, make sure you subscribe, leave a rating and a review if you can. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share the video, do all the things, etc. We will be back for episode 88 of The Clutch Dump. See you then.